Hello, welcome to Tony's Bonsai. I've got a mint julep juniper here and it definitely needs some work doing on it, so let's take a closer look. This tree's got plenty of healthy growth on it, as you can see. It's had a really good healthy year. I first worked on this 12 months ago. It just came from a garden centre and I did some basic branch selection and did a bit of wiring. This is the business end of the tree down here, and I can't exactly remember what I did, but I'm sure I removed a branch maybe here and something down here. I left these main branches on, wired up this trunk and got some movement into this. But I'm looking at it now and thinking, I don't like the way this is heading at all. If you're anything like me, you occasionally ask yourself, what is it about bonsai that I really enjoy? And it's not always easy to answer, but when I think about it, I think the main thing that I enjoy is the puzzle solving aspect of dealing with this kind of material. You know, I don't think of it as a problem, I think of it as a puzzle, and one that needs to be solved. And Peter Chan sometimes says, you know, there's not just one solution, there's always more than one solution with to a tree. And I agree, but there's often one best solution. And for me, the challenge is trying to find what the best solution to this is. So I'm going to run through a few of the possible options that perhaps I've got with this tree, and then I'm going to do the one that I think is the best. So what are my options with this tree? I've spent quite a long time looking at it. I don't really know what the base is like. We've got a bit of a flared root down there, but it goes up. We've got a bit of swelling here and here because we've got two very thick branches. We've got a very thick branch here and the main trunk comes up. Now this main trunk, I've wired some movement into it and it then moves off. So it's got like what you would think of as the kind of classic S shape there. It's got some thick branches coming off it. It's a very vigorous plant. One of the branches is really quite thick up here. And whatever happens with this tree, I'm certain that this thick branch can't stay. So my first job is going to be to just remove that because it's on the inside of a bend and it just can never stay. It's causing inverse taper. So I've got rid of that. That allows me now to kind of see the structure a bit better, look at what my options are. And I think the first option is to use this as the main tree, but perhaps to compact the tree down by bending this down like that. I can definitely get some movement into this using tape and wire, and I can make that a bit more interesting. So that's one option, but if I do that, these very thick branches down here, they just look weird. If I keep this as the main traditional trunk, I think this one has to go. I think all three of these have to be removed and I have to allow that to just be the main trunk. It kind of seems a shame to remove all of these, and then it's going to be a very sort of spindly, weird tree that, I don't know, I'm just not feeling that. So my decision really is not to bother keeping this. That's not to say it can't be used as a gin. In fact, I could wire this with the knowledge that this was being turned into a gin in the future, so that's a possibility. One of the definite options I think is to remove this whole tree down to this very first branch to allow this to come off, become the new trunk. It'll have excellent taper going from thick into thin. It'll have nice movement coming across, so it'd go across and back round, so it'd be quite interesting, and I think that's definitely an option. As for this back branch over here, I'm not convinced there's anything that I could really do with that. I don't see me cutting the trunk here and turning that into the new leader. I'd have to remove this bottom one here, and it'd be kind of weird. It'd be like leaning over straight and then across, and it just doesn't have the right feel for me. This next branch though does. It's quite a bit thicker. It seems to have better movement curving around. And I think there's definitely the option for me to take this section off here and to keep that. And of the Of all the possible options, that's the one at the moment that's seeming the best to me. What I would then do with these other branches, I'm unsure, but I've made my mind up on that, and that is the way that I'm going to go. I don't want to turn this into a gin. It's too thick, it's too straight. I think I'm better just removing it and giving that a chance to heal. The more I look at it, the more that I like this line. My experience with the juniper is you don't need to leave a stub for dieback or anything like that. You can cut them flush. With that gone now, it's obviously simplified the tree a lot. You can see here the large cut. That'll heal up no problem. I'm liking the main line of this tree coming round here, but I now need to decide what to do with these two branches. This main leader, I'm going to wire into position. I'm going to try and add some real interesting movement to that. The question is, what do I do with these? Do I keep them? Do I gin them? Having made that decision that this is going to be the new apex, I don't think these two play any part in the future of the tree. They just look weird and awkward. Now, I could just cut them both off. However, I want to keep this as a backup in case I snap this branch. So this one, whatever happens to that branch, I'm not going to be keeping this one. But if there's an accident, I've got a sort of spare there. So I'll take this one off and I'll just use my hybrid cutters to get in nice and tight and take that off. Now I need to do something with this new leader. And in order to do this safely, I'm going to wrap it with vet tape, put some wire on, and then come back to you. I just took my time then, spent about 20 minutes, wrapped all of this branch, the full length, with 2 rolls of vet tape, and then I've put different thicknesses of wire along it. It's looking good, and now is the part where I can kind of decide what I want this tree to look like, which is the really creative bit. So yeah, let's see what we can do. I think we're looking here at what may roughly be the front, possibly there, but something around this kind of view. We've got some movement that I've already put in down that then comes up. So my first choice would be to exaggerate this downward movement and try to... They're quite fragile, these branches on this mint julep, so it's not the easiest job. So I'll just try and push that in. That bent down nicely. There we go. So I've exaggerated that bend. That went really well. And now the bend that naturally comes this way, I would like to bring up. So up this comes. There we go. There. So that's getting some interest in this part. I like the fact that the tree goes off to this side here, and from the front it goes out, and then I'd like to bring this back. I've got a really nice branch here. I want this on the outside of a bend, but ideally I'd like this to be further back, so I'm going to try and really push this bend here if I can. Really go for it. There we go. So I've got that nicely back. This is now in a great place on the top here, so that when I move this out this way, that's perfect. And this one here is coming from a really good spot as well. So 2 of my strong branches are in really nice places. Let me come behind the camera now and sort of see where I am with this. That's looking interesting, I like that. And I don't think I want to take this any further down. I could do a bit, just a bit, because it's kind of come back up as I've bent this round, so I could possibly just take that back down like that. So that's now got a definite downward back up. Then it's what I do with this top section up here. From this back view, you can see the branch I've bent. I've put that good movement in, which I really like. And from here now, I think it might be time to add a twist. So rather than just bending in one direction, as I have been doing so far, I want to now put some kind of loop into this, just to add a bit more interest. And it's quite thin up here at the top. It should be fairly flexible, so I shouldn't have a problem. And even if I do snap it, it wouldn't be the end of the world to turn this into the new apex. So although I'm gambling, I've got reserves, and round we come. Round like that. So we're developing a twist there, possibly a bit too corkscrewy. So at that point there, I'll bring that down. Bring that forward like that. That's good. And then this can twist round, and we've got a really nice branch here again coming from the outside of this bend. That's ideal. Right, let's see what that looks like from the front. So from the front now, we've got some nice movement going on, really interesting. I don't want to go too crazy with this top section, but I also don't want to just leave it completely straight like this. So this is all coming out here, filling this area. It would be nice now for this to dip back down, sort of around here like this, down, and then using a twist, bring that back up like that. So again, whether this will end up into the final design, I don't know, but I'm just adding more interest, keeping it three-dimensional and filling this space. So as this comes back in this direction, I'm kind of building a more compact tree for the future. I mentioned earlier about removing this branch. However, I'm going to leave it. That would be around 50% of the remaining foliage of this tree, and I think it's fairly safe with that left on. If I take that away, I might be entering the danger zone, and I don't want to risk killing this tree, but there we go. I put this tea towel on just to sort of show you what the final image will look more like. We've got some real good, interesting movement happening here. Pretty severe, crazy bends. Whether they'll all end up in the final composition, I don't know, but I think it's certainly now got something happening, whereas before, just never looked, to me, it never looked like it was going to become a bonsai tree. The sites where I made the big chops, I've just covered with a nice big dollop of cut paste. So that's me done with this tree for the time being. That just goes outside now, and I'll look at removing this wire probably midsummer, mid to late summer, and that should hopefully have held pretty much in place. I don't want it to scar too badly, so I'll keep my eye on it and see what's happening. I might have to rewire it, but we'll just keep track of that. If you want to see how this tree gets on, you know what to do. Other than that, as always, thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.